Hey guys, JBZ here, and I'm here to talk about Armando and Orochimaru actually possibly teaming up in the Boruto manga. So first, I think it's actually possible we could see this happen because when I'm starting to notice the anime relate to the manga even if we don't notice at the time, especially given how Orochimaru did have a lot of appearances lately with the Orochimaru with the Hashirama cell and the Divine Tree, or when you want to talk about how Jiraiya appearance in the time travel arc, and now Jiraiya there's a person resembling Jiraiya and has Jiraiya's genes, and so I think it is possible that they're trying to allude to certain stuff, but without actually spoil main certain stuff, if that makes sense. And I think Orochimaru was planned to do something interesting for a while, and I think that could be with Armando because Armando and Orochimaru, they're both scientists, they're both people who like the research, I guess. And I think it's possible that since especially Mitsuki, he's the one that doesn't necessarily know how to control his sage mode, but that could potentially change if Orochimaru and and Armando can actually figure out how to make his body handle the sage mode itself. I think this is actually possible given Armando's research on the vast amount of scientific tools. I think it would be fairly easily, and I think it's possibly going to go that route because as you see how Kawaki's arm, he was still blown off, but yeah, he was blown off, and he had the Hokage Naruto arm. But you see in the future, his arm is back to normal. It's fine. So you could already assume that Armando fixed his arm up, and he's trying to go into that business, hoping and gaining people's trust. Whether it's that for trust to betray that trust or genuine interest in the village, we don't know as of yet, but I think it can be a good future because Armando's knowledge of scientific ninja tool is way higher than that doctor who basically gave Boruto the scientific ninja tool. His knowledge could really benefit the village if they're doing it properly, because when you have a person that can modify every single part of someone's body and their cells can regenerate without having a need of Kurama, because besides the modified humans, only Kurama only Naruto has the ability to regenerate himself. So if they could do that for other characters, now we're talking. Now it could be interesting. Now it could seem as though like maybe in the future Boruto and Mitsuki have scientific tool implanted into themselves, which would be very ironic considering how Boruto hated scientific ninja tool at first, and recently, especially with the anime, him becoming in love with scientific tool. Essentially, he was having fun with having a blast with these, and I think it's possible that he could actually enhance himself to face the upcoming threat. And I think that is a possibility that the author would go, considering how because I think scientific digital is a good way to increase someone's power really fast without stressing it over. And what I mean by that is like, what is a way to progress the character fast, but without making it sound like bullshit? Scientific ninja tools, because scientific ninja tools have been there since day one, and when you do it, when you implement it to yourself, I mean, it does seem like the kind of thing that Boruto or Kawaki would do, especially Kawaki and Mitsuki, more so Mitsuki, because I mean, they've already been modified into a certain degree. Because all three of those characters, they don't have 100% of their own DNA. Most of their DNA is Asuki. Kawaki and Boruto. Mitsuki is a whole different case. He's completely man-made, so he doesn't really factor into it. But those two, I don't think they will mind as much if their body was modified, since their body already modified to the point they can't even get their original self back. They still have that Mitsuki data inside them. So I think it's possible that potentially in the future that we could see Kawaki and Boruto fighting together with scientific ninja tools, because I think when you have a character like Delta who is able to absorb chakra with just her eyes or use her legs as basically a rocket, similar to the person on the Diva path, that one guy who was shooting rockets out of his head, I believe. I think we're probably going to reach that level of insanity once again, because it does seem as though the scientific ninja tools are being more of a priority than the rinnegan, because at least the scientific ninja tool, they have multiple variety. You can choose what kind of gear you want. The rinnegan, it doesn't really help all that much, especially if you're throwing with low chakra, aka Sasuke. Well, yeah, aka Sasuke, and who doesn't really take care of his chakra all that well. So I think scientific ninja tools is going to be the next thing after dojutsu, which I personally would be fine with. But let me know what you think of scientific ninja tools and how they continue to be implemented into Boruto as a whole. But otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.